Welcome back to a new deep dive, and this occasion is the TAL-U-NO-LX. This guide is like a crash course. At the description or the timeline of this video, you have all the chapters. You can learn about something today, skip this section, or maybe come back a different day to keep learning. If you like what I do, please like the video. This channel is supported by viewers only. If you want to buy me a coffee to say thanks and help the channel keep going on, you can. You have links at the description for PayPal, YouTube Thanks, and Patreon. Okay, so let's start with the basics. At the top, you can select your presets. I will always start on a default presets, so we can all start from the same place. So we need to start with the thing that makes sounds, and that's the DCO. This means digitally controlled oscillators. And you have three different shapes. You have a saw, you have a sub, and then you have a pulse. I'm gonna turn the sub off, and then if you go to the saw, of course you will be getting a saw, and notice it's just not a super perfect saw. And this is because, of course, this is an emulation. Now if you turn everything off, of course you play something and you will be getting just absolutely nothing. I'm gonna turn it off, and then you get the sub and you get a square. Now this is a sub oscillator because it's tuned 1 octave down. And you also notice that you get the volume for the sub oscillator, which is something that you don't get with the saw. And this is because you can blend the loudness of the sub. Then if you turn everything off, you have a noise generator. So it's just, white noise. At the left, if you follow the shape, notice that it's linked to this PW. This is pulse and then width. So if I leave everything at default and I play something, this is what we get as a shape, right? Now the thing is that this can be modulated with this knob, this slider that we have right here. But first we need to make a decision in what we want to use to modulate the pulse width. First is going to be manually. This is why it says man. If I play something, I can move this and this will manually change the pulse width of the pulse. That's, what it does. Now the thing is that you can use other sources to modulate this slider to do exactly what I'm doing right now. So you can use an LFO or you can use an envelope. First, I'm going to go to the LFO. When you are on an LFO or maybe envelope, this slider becomes like a depth control. If I play something, nothing happens. As I go up, we will be getting more depth from the LFO, which is at the bottom right here. We're going to talk about this in a minute. If I keep going up, it's going to be more aggressive and more aggressive. So, if I wanted to use the rate just to make the LFO faster, we will be getting that modulation from the LFO. Then you have the envelope, which is going to be this envelope that we have right here. If I play something, this will decide how much the envelope will affect the pulse width. And of course, since this is an envelope, we need to provide an instruction, and right now it's just, pretty much nothing. I'm going to do something like that, maybe something like that, and now if I play it, notice that there's a motion right here every time I play a key, and that's the plan. Every time we play a key, the envelope will trigger and it will execute whatever we have right here. And how aggressive it is this slider. You can do a tiny little bit, just like that, or just go really aggressively. And that's, what the pulse width will do. The power of this synthesizer, the Juno, or maybe in this case, the TAL-U-NO-LX, comes from DCOs and the different combinations that you can create with them. So if I do something like that, it's just not that tasty. But if I add maybe a saw, now we have something else. And of course we can modulate the pulse width and it will affect the shape. Or maybe we can bring a sub and remove this one. Then we choose a combination just to get a different sound. Now you can, of course, use them all at once. I'm going to go to a default patch. And the last thing that we need to cover is the LFO. So this one, what we'll do, we'll just take the LFO, whatever is that the LFO is doing, and it will modulate the pitch of the oscillator. And in this case, of course, is going up and down. Simple as that. Now you cannot target single oscillators. It's going to modulate all the oscillators at once. No way of changing that. Now, a few ways of using this, maybe doing just a tiny little bit and get a nice vibrato I'm gonna make it a little bit brighter, and if I play something, there's a little bit of movement. It's not super static. If I go faster, maybe I go to free, we get that motion. Or you can go all the way in, all the way aggressive, and this will give you, maybe if we choose a different waveform, you know, different sounds. I'm gonna go all the way up. On a synthesizer, especially an analog synthesizer, the oscillators, you know, the DCOs in this case, are constantly outputting some sound. So when we play a key, the sound will come out, but it needs to go out in a certain way. Something needs to shape how the sound comes out, and that would be the VCA. On this synthesizer, we have two ways of controlling how the sound goes out. We have a gate, and then we have the envelope. How a gate works, it's just like, you know, the drawing right here, the icon. As soon as we play a key, the gate will open, it will let the sound pass, and I'm gonna release it in 3, 2, 1, and the sound dies very abruptly. This is why, you know, we see this shape. It opens and closes. Then the other way is by using an ADSR, which is what we have right here, and is this envelope. To use the ADSR, we need to change it, to manually change it to envelope. So now the volume, or how the output goes out of the synthesizer, will be controlled by this ADSR. So if I wanted to add a little bit of attack, and, you know, we do it, we're gonna get something like that, maybe a little bit of release, maybe a lot of release, and I add maybe a little bit of chorus. Sounds completely different than when we use the gate. If you don't know how an ADSR works, don't worry, I will give you a 101 in a minute. If we take a look at the other sections, we can see that the VCF uses the envelope as a modulation source. So we can move this control by using the ADSR, right? So if we go to the pulse width, we can see that this one is using the envelope as well. So yeah, and right here, it's the same deal. So the thing is that we can only use one single envelope. And this is something very true to the original synthesizer. If we use envelope, we use the same envelope to control how the sound goes out, to control how the filter moves, and to control the modulation from the pulse width. And we cannot use a different ADSR because, you know, we have only one single envelope. That's why modern synthesizers have multiple envelopes. So we don't have to use the single envelope that we get to control different sources all at once. Still, like I said before, if you choose to use a gate to control how the sound goes out, then the envelope is, you know, not being used by the output, and whatever is that you do right here will not affect how the volume goes out, so you can just simply use it on some other sources to perform, you know, a modulation. Since I know a lot of you are starting with synths, and maybe ADSR or envelopes is something that it's just not so clear, I'm gonna give you an ADSR 101 right now. If you already know how an ADSR works, you just can move on to the next section. I'm not gonna teach you anything new. Just like we discussed previously, if we go to envelope, this controls how the sound goes out of the synthesizer. So I'm going to take all of this down, I'm going to go all the way down. Now if I play a key, and notice that we do have a sound, we have the saw and the sub, I'm going to play a key, and notice that we get something right here at the bottom. We get something, but it's just a tiny little blip, and it's because everything is super closed. So an ADSR stands for attack, decay, sustain, and release, and the attack is a time-based knob. The decay, it's based on time. The sustain, it's not a time control, it's a level, and then the release is a time-based knob. So we have time, level, and then time. And these are all the different stages of how the sound will go out. So if right now everything is super close, so when I play a key, you know, we get a tiny little blip. So I'm going to go up on the attack, and the attack means how long will it take for the sound to go up to full amplitude. So if I play a key, notice that it goes up and then dies. Since this is a time control, as we go up, it's going to take longer. If I go down and put it really close, it's going to be super fast. I'm going to go up, so it's going to be longer. It's going to take a long time to go up. And the sound goes up, it reaches maximum amplitude and then dies. Now the thing is that now we know that this one controls how it goes up, but you know, it's dying. And maybe I'm just still holding the key. Why is the sound dying? Well, that's going to be the decay. Since the attack is how the sound goes up, the decay is going to be how the sound goes down. And again, this is a time-based control. If I go up, it means that it's going to take some time to go down. So I'm going to press the key. I'm going to do it with my mouse. Going to press it on 3, 2, 1. It goes up slowly and then dies slowly. And I'm still holding the key. I want you to notice that. Even if I go again, up is going to be even slower. I'm going to press it. 3, 2, 1. Goes up very slowly. Maximum peak. And then it starts decaying. And at some point, and I'm still holding the key, it's going to die, right? So the sound dies. The problem now is that I am holding the key. Why is the sound dying? Well, that's going to be the sustain. The sustain will decide where the sound is going to sustain if I'm holding a key. This is why the level is going to be sustained at some point right here in terms of level or of amplitude. So if I go up, maybe put it right here at the center, and I press a key in 3, 2, 1, it's just slowly going up. Now it's entering to the decay stage. It's going to go down, and at some point, it's going to stop right there because I'm holding the key. So that's the sustain. And I'm going to go even lower just to show you that we can go, maybe just we can leave it right here at the bottom in terms of loudness. I'm going to press it, goes up, goes down to the decay stage, and it's going to kind of stay around right there. If I go even down, it's going to be, you know, even down. So I'm going to play it, goes up, goes down, and it's going to stay right there. Now this is something that you can just play it, and maybe if you want to go up, notice that it's following, I can adjust it while I'm holding the key. Now, one thing that you need to know is that if the sustain is all the way up, when I play a key, there's no decay stage. This is staying all the way up. It will never decay. Even if I go faster, it's just, you know, will not decay. You're disabling or just disregarding the decay stage. I'm going to do it again. Goes up, then it goes down to the decay stage, and it will sustain at some point. Now, the thing is that when I release the key, I'm going to stop holding it, the sound will die instantly. So what if I want for the sound to fade out instead of just die very quick? Well, that's going to be the release. When I play a key and I release it, what's going to happen? Again, release. And this is just like the A and the D is a time-based knob. I'm going to go up on this one, but then I'm going to go up on this one, and now I'm going to play. It's going to go attack, then decay, then it's going to sustain, and now I'm going to release the key in 3, 2, 1, and now the sound slowly dies. And so of course, the release is very long, so it's going to take a long time to die. So this is how an ADSR or envelope works, and it's super important. Just to give you an example, let's say that I want to create kind of a keys type of sound. Well, if I do something like this, super close, well, it's going to be more like a pluck. So I need to open the decay, maybe a little bit more if I want more, or just, do less. I'm just going to go to the chorus and reverb, just make it nicer. And I have a pluck. What if I wanted to play some keys? Right now, it doesn't sound like a key, especially when you release the key. Well, that's going to need a little bit of release. And now, maybe it's too long. Well, then we make it shorter. And remember that the VCF uses this envelope to control how we modulate this control. So I can go down and go up on the envelope, and now we can hear that modulation from the frequency. If I want something maybe a little bit brassy, right? So we get that motion with the attack. So So knowing how to control an ADSR, it's super important. This type of synthesizer is a subtractive synth. It means we generate a sound from, with the DCOs, and then we subtract the part that we don't want. And that's going to be, in this case, the freq, which is going to be the cutoff. So if I play something, I'm going to remove the higher frequencies. So we are chopping the higher ones. We dispose the frequencies that we don't want. This cutoff, it's 24 dBs per octave. The second most common part is the resonance. And this is a breakpoint, this is a bump. The resonance is a bump at the breakpoint. So right here is the breakpoint. So if I boost this up, it will boost this part. I'm gonna keep boosting. And now we can see that bump. Notice that when I boost the resonance, the lower frequencies are gonna go down. This is something very normal with this type of filter. You have a lot of different types of filter. In this case, when we boost the resonance, it's gonna start self-oscillating like it's doing right now, but it will also attenuate the low frequencies. Super normal. Now, since we have this resonant peak, we can get that, wow sound. Now then, we have the other filter, which is going to be the high-pass filter. If this one cuts the highs, this one will cut the lows. And this is a little bit different from the other one, right? So this one is just pretty aggressive. But the other one is just a lot more smooth. It's because this one, I guess, is a 6 dBs per octave. The other one is 24. Therefore, this one is super smooth, and this one is a lot more aggressive. And that's actually normal. Now, the frequency or the cutoff can be modulated with a lot of different sources. Which sources? The envelope, we can use the LFO, and we can use the keyboard. I'm gonna go all the way down, and I'm gonna just add a little bit of chorus, a little bit of reverb. Right now, it's just super dry and wet, super dry. So I'm gonna just. It's just a little bit more fun. So the whole point is that something needs to modulate this frequency. Right now, nothing is moving it. If you chop the frequencies, it's gonna stay right there. So every time I play a key, I want for this control to do something like that. The thing is, right now I'm just doing it with my mouse, and that's no fun. So we can use the envelope. So this control is how much of the envelope will modulate the frequency. I'm gonna go maybe 50%. I'm gonna do something slow. I'm gonna go here and just all the way down and just a little bit of release. So now. This is the envelope modulating the frequency up and down every time I play a key. If I go down, there's almost no movement. If I go all the way up, it's going to be a lot more aggressive because this env slider is a depth control. Right here, you just need to make a call. If it's too aggressive, well, then you go down on this control until you get the motion that you want. Within the envelope modulation, you have an inverted envelope. And just to give you an example, if I play a key, basically the frequency or this envelope, what it's doing right now, is going up and then down, right? So if we use an inverted envelope, now instead of going up and down, it's going to go down and then up. It's just going to do the opposite. So in this case, maybe the frequency needs to be open for me to get the motion. And of course, you need to set your envelope to get the sound that you want. Again, all of this is just very normal for a lot of synthesizers. I'm going to go back to a default preset. And the other modulation source is going to be the mod. And this one is an LFO. It's the same LFO that we use for the pulse width. So now if I go here and I go up on this one, we can hear that it's just moving up and down Well, that's the LFO. If I wanted to go faster, it's going to go faster. Now, the fact that we are using, I'm going to go down on the keyboard, the fact that we are using mod or the LFO as a motion to modulate the frequency up and down doesn't mean that we can't use the envelope. So I'm going to go up on the envelope, and I'm going to go and just, maybe do something else for the envelope. Because now we have just a different motion. If I play a key, it goes up and down, but it's still, moving or grooving with the LFO. If I do no envelope, just very static. And alright, so that's the mod, is the LFO. I'm gonna go down in this one, and I'm gonna go here. So then you have the keyboard. Now this one, it is still a modulation source, but it's a little bit different. The keyboard, it's also controlled keyboard control. Sometimes it's called filter keyboard, or it's just a way of modulation. Now I'm gonna chop the frequencies, and maybe I'm gonna remove the effects so we can see it right here on the spectrum. If I play a higher key, it sounds pretty dark. If I keep going down, it sounds pretty dark. Why? Well, because I'm chopping a lot of frequencies. So when I play a higher key, the frequency, the cutoff is just cutting the same. If I go to a low frequency, it's just cutting the same. It doesn't care that we are playing a higher key or maybe we are playing a lower key. If I go all the way up, it means that the synthesizer will listen to the keys I'm playing. And if I'm playing a higher key, it will open the frequency a little bit more. If I go no keyboard, it's going to be a lot darker. And as I keep going down, whatever frequency I'm playing is going to scale the frequency or the cutoff. If I go down, it's going to be way different. This is much darker. I'm going to go to a default patch, and now we need to talk about the LFO, which means low frequency oscillator. Okay, so let's just get the easy parts out of the way. I'm going to go to frequency, and I'm going to use the mod of the LFO, and maybe a little bit of chorus and a little bit of reverb. If I play a key, the LFO is just moving this frequency control, right? It's modulating the cutoff. How fast? Well, that's the rate. If I go down, it's going to be super slow. If I go up, it's going to be faster. Now, the thing is how it's this rate working. Well, right here, you have the trigger mode. First, it's going to be sync, which is going to be you're syncing to whatever tempo you have on your DAW. But you can go free, which is going to be in hertz. And notice it's just much, much faster. Then you have the key, and the key is a little bit different. If I move this control, notice that it is still on hertz. It's not on sync, so you're not syncing to your DAW. So this means that every time I play a key, it will re-trigger the LFO. And maybe you're thinking, why? What do you mean? Let me just remove the reverb and the chorus. I'm going to use this one, and I want to use the LFO to modulate the pitch of the LFO. Now, I'm going to leave it on free. There we go. And I'm going to go somehow slow. And I'm going to open the filter. Now, I'm going to press a key. I'm going to do it with my mouse so you can see it. I'm going to press it. And notice that every time I press it, it could be the sound or the pitch, in this case, up or down. So it doesn't care. The LFO doesn't care I'm pressing a key. It's just constant, and this is because it's free. It doesn't care. Maybe the LFO is up, then the pitch is going to be up. Sometimes it's going to be down. It doesn't care. So the key does care. When we play a key, the LFO will restart to the beginning of the waveform, which is, this waveform. So we're going to talk about this in a minute. So since it's starting at the beginning of the waveform, every time I play a key, the motion is constant. Whereas now, it will always start the same. If I go to free, sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. And this is important depending on the sound that you want to create. If you want something like this, well, use the other ones. But if you want for the LFO to always start on the same position constantly, well, then you need to select the key. Okay, so now we can talk about the different shapes. And I'm going to use the filter with a little bit of chorus and a little bit of reverb. Now the sine wave uses a sine wave, so it's going to be a smoothly up and down. It's just smoothly going up and down. There's a transition. Then the other shape is going to be a triangle, and the triangle is just a little bit harsh on the edges, sharp edges. And then you have the other ones, the other ones are completely different. You have the saw, which looks like this one. The saw that we have right here is a ramp up. It will slowly go up and then it will die instantly and start over and over again. So at the bottom, you have the inv, and this is the invert. What if I wanted to start harsh and then ramp down? Well, then we need to do inv, and now the saw will be inverted. And we hear, of course, a different motion. Now then we have rec, which is going to be a square. It's an on and off type of deal. And then we have R&D, which is going to be random. Sometimes it's going to be, up. Sometimes it's going to be down. It's random. If I go up on the rate, let me go here and remove this. It's going to be, again, random. And even if I go to pitch, we get this, famous type of sound. And that's the LFO. So I'm gonna go to maybe the sine wave. And we have this man. So this is manually, is how we can trigger the LFO. If I select it, if I just turn it on, I'm gonna play something and notice that I'm not getting anything. And it's because the only way to trigger the LFO, or just to make it happen, is the LFO trigger button that you get at the bottom. So if I play something and I press the button, is the only way we can trigger or just make the LFO work. That's it. I'm gonna go to a new patch, and then we have the delay time. And this delay time will smoothly introduce the LFO motion. One very common example would be to use it with the pitch. So if I do a little bit of modulation from the LFO, let me go here, maybe a little bit faster. And I'm gonna chop a little bit of the frequencies. There we go, that's fine. So now if I wanted to play something, every time I play, the modulation kicks in and we get that, but it doesn't sound that nice. So the delay time, every time I play a key, it will smoothly introduce the LFO to the actual pitch. So now if I play, and only when I hold the key, we will be getting this modulation, because it takes some time. It's delaying the LFO, smoothly introducing the LFO. I'm gonna go maybe to 3 and a little bit faster. Maybe even 5 is usually a good value, around 5. I'm gonna do a little bit of pitch. So now if I play, is that we get that vibrato. So this is what the delay time will do. And again, a very common way of using this delay is with the pitch, but you can also use it with the frequency if you wanted to. If I play something, notice that I'm not gonna get it. And only when I hold the key, we are just getting it. So then you have the control section right here, and it's a little bit confusing. The control section, it's about modulation, but it's about controlled modulation. First, again, chorus and a little bit of reverb. And it says right here PWDCO. The first time you see this, you assume pulse width, but no, this is about the pitch wheel. This wheel that we have right here. So if I play something and I go up, we can hear that it goes up and down in pitch. But right here, we can decide if we want to go to one octave up or one down. So this is the depth of the pitch wheel. And that's it. That's pretty much it. Now then you have the other one, which is PW. Again, it's talking about the pitch wheel, and then MPE, and then aftertouch. But it's talking about the filter. So I'm going to go down on the cutoff, and if I play something, nothing happens. What I want to do, I want to go up on this one, and on with the pitch wheel, if I go up, we can modulate or control the cutoff frequency. We can go down again or up. Also, if you have a controller that can do aftertouch, I'm using one right now. I'm gonna play a key, and when I apply pressure, I can control the modulation. But you need a controller that supports aftertouch. The other one is gonna be the velocity and then the envelope. It's talking about the envelope. And in this case, it depends on, again, your controller. You need to use a controller that supports velocity. I'm gonna go here, and if I play softly, I get that. And now I'm gonna play more aggressively. And as I play more aggressive, the velocity of the note I'm playing will modulate the envelope and ultimately the frequency. Soft, hard. So that's it. Now then the other one, it's the same thing, but it's for the volume. If I go up and I go to my controller, I can use aftertouch to have a kind of a tremolo type of effect. Let me go up in frequency. And yes, I'm using my aftertouch just to go up and down in volume. Now notice that it says MPE all over the place, and again, if you have an MPE controller, you can use all this a little bit more. But then at the top, right here, it says MPE. Notice that it says MPE. If you click it, it's going to dispose the traditional keyboard, and now you have an MPE type of controller, which is something kind of a weird or strange or new to me on a plugin that you get this interface, because now you can click it with your mouse and you can use it or do things that you can do with an MPE type of controller. You can just go up and go down. Coming up next is the Portamento. The Portamento will make the notes glide or just slide to the next note. Just to make it work, I'm going to put it on 1. I'm going to tell you why in a minute. And I'm going to do a little bit of time. So how this works is that you need to kind of use it on legato mode. You need to play one key, and then if I play a new key while I'm holding this one, it will glide or slide to the next note. I'm gonna go up in time. This is how long will it take for that glide type of effect. And I'm gonna cut a little bit of the frequencies. There we go, a little bit better. I'm gonna press a higher key. It's gonna be very slow because I'm using a slow type of time. And if I go up again, but all of this again works because I'm holding a key. If I'm not holding a key and I just play, I get no Portamento. I'm gonna put it right here, almost half. Now you have this time option, and this one is super interesting. Let me just show you why. I'm gonna play a key, and I'm playing a C3. If I play a key that is next to this C3 I'm holding, the transition is gonna be somehow fast. But now I'm gonna be playing a higher key that is just kind of a far away from the one I'm holding. But it takes a long time to get there, and if I release it, it's going to take a long time to go back. But then again, if I play a closer key, it's going to take less time. So the time, it's relative to the keys that you're playing. If you click on this time and you enable this when it's on, it means that the time will be constant. It doesn't care if you're playing a close key. It takes a long time to get there because I'm using a long time, but if I go to a higher key, it's going to take the same amount of time. So now the keys are using the same time. It doesn't matter if the key is close or it's just far. It doesn't matter. And I'm going to use maybe less time. There we go. It's pretty fast. If If I go up, same time. And this is again just a little bit more constant than the traditional Portamento. And it's again super useful. Now then you have the other mode, which is the mode number 2. The mode 2, which is again the always or mode 2, throws this legato mode for Portamento out of the window. As soon as I play a key, it will do the Portamento. And I'm not holding a key. I don't need to hold a key to get that transition. With the other one, if you remember, we need to do legato mode if we want that Portamento. That's the main difference. Portamento, it's usually mono, and I'm talking about, analog or just hardware synthesizers, not digital synthesizers. On this one, of course, since this one is digital, you can do mono and you can do poly. So again, mono, it means that if I play a key, it's gonna slide to the next. But now if I play a chord, notice that it's just not letting me, and I'm playing a chord. Well, if we change it to poly, and now I play something, and I'm going to be going to the always mode, we get it. And if I go to the on mode, it's just not going to work that good, because remember, we need to hold the keys. And it all depends in how many voices that you're using. So if you're using the poly, I think the always, again, works a little bit better. Then at the left, you have the main control. And these options are just pretty simple to understand. You have the key transpose. If you want to transpose keys, let's say I'm going to go to a C3 right here. If I just transpose it by -1, now it's not going to be C3 anymore. So, you can just offset your keys right here. Then you can set the maximum amount of polyphony. In this case, you can do up to 12 different voices. It means that you can play up to 12 different keys at the same time. By default, it's 6, which is, enough. I'm going to go to a default patch, and you have the voice mode and then the panic. And sometimes when you're playing, some voices are going to get stuck. Then you just hit the panic, and it will stop the whatever is playing back. On the voice mode side of things, you have the N and the RR. And this is not in the manual. I'm just going to show you what they are. If I go to VT right here at the top, you get the voice calibration. On an analog synthesizer, I mean a real analog synthesizer, each voice will be a little bit different. So since this is a plugin, this is an emulation, this is still, pretty much in tune. All the different voices, all the voices that you get are pretty much aligned. So everything's perfect. So here you can just manually go to the voice pairs, and you can just offset all the different values that you get just to get a more analog type of sound. You don't need to go to one by one. Right here you get the amount. I can do just a tiny little bit, and if I do random, it will just randomize all the values, and all the different voices now are just going to be a little bit different. Let me go to chorus, a little bit of wet, and then a little bit of this. There we go. I'm going to go back. And again, all the voices are just going to be a little bit different. So if I go crazy, now it will sound like an analog synthesizer that needs maintenance. Notice that this voice is just the 1 in 7. The cutoff is really wild. So when I play a key, it's super dark. But when I play a different key, it's just brighter. So yeah, in this case, if you have a synthesizer that, sounds like this, it needs maintenance. But you can do it with the amount and the random right here. Now that we know that we can offset the pair of the different voices and we can see the different voices, we can talk about the other option. I'm gonna go to amount, and I'm just gonna go maybe random, and everything is gonna be aligned. If I remove this, you have this, the N and the RR. So N means that when I play a key, that key will not be random. It will start at maybe the last position, and every time I just release and play that key, it's gonna play the same voice. It's not going to a new pair, it's just staying right there. Now if I hold, a different key, it's going to go to a different voice. And then if I play new keys, it will always go in order. You know, that's the plan. Now the other mode, the RR, is round robin. And this will cycle through the available voices. And this is something very normal with some synthesizers. Now if I play a key, I'm going to play the same key. Notice that it's just shifting to the next voice. And I'm going to keep just playing. And every time I play a new key, it will just move on to the next one. Even if I hold, when I play new keys, it's just going to assign new voices. This is how it works. This is, nice if maybe you want to really offset all your voices, maybe go really wild on random, and now when I play one single key, all the different voices will be a little bit different. That's the point. So I'm gonna get out of here, I'm gonna maybe do random of nothing, and I'm gonna go back. At the bottom, you have the Unison, and at this point in history, almost all synthesizers can do Unison. And if you don't know what Unison is, it will stack voices on top of each other. So every time you play a key, instead of playing one voice, you will hear more voices. But they're just playing the same key that you're playing, the same frequency. The thing is that, again, I'm going to go to chorus, maybe a little bit of reverb, and I'm going to cut off. If I play a key, it sounds like that. Now I'm going to do more voices. Now it's doing 3. So it's more. Notice it sounds a little bit phasey. It's because, again, we are stacking voices on top of each other. I can do more voices, 4, 5, 6, 7, up to 7. The thing is that when you do Unison, it doesn't sound that cool. It sounds, again, a little bit phasey. Unison sounds cool when you start detuning the voices and you get that separation and that super big sound. And when you do too much, it sounds like a beehive. And then you have the width, since you're using several voices. Oh, of course, when you separate the voices, when you detune, and you have a lot, you will be getting a lot more. Let me just go down on the oscilloscope. It's just going crazy. We have less voices. It's just less noticeable. And when you're using more voices, you can go up on the width. It will just separate the voices on the left and the right. Notice that now it's just wider. If I go down, everything is at the center. Let me just remove the reverb and the chorus. And now I'm gonna go all the way up on the width, and I'm gonna just tap it. Notice that sometimes some voices are at the left, the other ones are at the right. If I go down, everything is at center. Completely different sound. Let's talk about the arpeggiator, and it's a very simple arp. We don't have much, and one thing I forgot to tell you is that if you want to change octaves with your mouse wheel, you can scroll and you can change the different octaves right here. Now let's talk about the arpeggiator. I'm going to be just playing a chord. I'm going to go down, and maybe I'm going to use the envelope. Let me just do something like that. And maybe a little bit of depth. And I'm just going to be turning it on. And this is it. This is, it. You turn it on, and it will do the arp. Of course, it's super slow, so you need to set the tempo. And right here, you need to go up in tempo, and it will go faster. Let me go to our higher key. That's it. Go up. It's gonna go faster. Of course, you can sync it to the tempo of your DAW. You have different. You can hold it if you want to. Right now, I'm just pressing the keys in order to get the arp. But you can just play the arp and hold it. And now I'm just not holding the keys. So you have different modes, and this is just pretty simple. It can go up. I'm gonna go up in tempo. Then you can go up and down. Then you can go down. You have more options right here. I'm gonna show you in a minute, but first, you have the range. I'm gonna put it on up, why not? And 1, it means that it's going to ARP whatever is that you're playing. 2, it means that it's gonna repeat it 1 octave up, and now nothing is going on. It's because I'm holding the keys. So if I want to change the range while playing back, it's just not gonna happen. You need to release the keys and play the ARP again. If I go to 3s, the same deal, but it's gonna be 1 octave more than 2. Now, all of these controls are very normal for any ARP that you could get on a synthesizer. Now, here at the bottom, you have extra options. I'm gonna play the ARP. You have normal, which is whatever is that you're using right here. And then you have other modes, the as played, which means that if you play something, and you know what, I'm gonna be using an envelope instead of a gate. I'm gonna be doing something super short. So as played means that it's going to remember the order in which you play the keys. It's not up, it's not down, it's the same order that you played. I guess I need to maybe move this so you can see what I'm playing. I'm playing this first, this one, the C4, then up, then up. And now it's using that order. As played is something super normal these days. All ARPs have this option. Then you have the random, which I guess is just random. And each round, it's just going to do something random from the notes, of course, that we are using. And then we have the up and down, which is the same as the up and down that we have right here, but it's going to be inclusive. That is that if I play a triad, is repeating the first and the last note. Maybe if I go slower, you can hear it. Right, so it's repeating the first and the last. And that's it. That's pretty much it. That's the ARP. Super simple. Then you have these 3 options at the bottom, and these ones are, I guess, pretty special. The X16 allows to sync the ARP to incoming MIDI notes, but only to the channel 16. Then the MIDI click will sync to incoming MIDI clock and only works when you're using sync. And then the host is pretty much the same idea, is going to sync it to whatever internal clock that the host is using. I guess these functions or options are useful depending on where you're using this plugin. So finally, the effects and the lock option is the last section of this video, which is, if you think about this, is a deep dive. I use the word deep dive, but it's just a course about this synthesizer, or maybe a Juno type of synthesizer. So the effects, it's pretty simple. I'm not gonna go wild. Right here is a delay, and then you have a reverb. Super simple, and it sounds great, right? You get your chorus first. I'm gonna enable it because I like how it sounds. Very simple verb. You get the size, your delay, which is, you know, your pre-delay. And then you have the tone. You can make it, I'm gonna go wet. You can make it just darker or just brighter. Completely up to you. And then you have the delay, again, just simple delay. You get your time right here. You can sync it to whatever it is that you want. And then again, you get your spread, which is going to be like a ping pong type of effect. And you can make the repetitions. If I go all the way wet, you can make the repetitions darker, or you can just, you know, make them thin, just brighter. And then, of course, you have your feedback. Simple as that. It's a very, very simple effects section, but, you know, it works. And that's pretty much it, right? So very simple delay and then reverb. And then you have the chorus, which is an important part for a Juno style of synthesizer. You have the one, which is, you know, less aggressive. I'm gonna disable the delay and reverb. Just chorus. And if you want a more aggressive type of chorus, you can go, and you can see right here in the spectrum how it works. You can go to the 2, it's a little bit darker, just sounds different. It's more aggressive. And then you can enable both at once, and you have a different type of course. Just get more aggressive, let's say. If you take a look, you can see lock all over the place. Lock on the ARP, lock on the effects, lock on right here, which is the MIDI learn. So, you know, why do you get this option? This lock belongs to the calibration. Let's say that you do something kind of a wild, right? So you do something like that, and you want to lock it. Why would you lock it? Well, you can lock it so you can change patches, and this will keep the configuration that you have right here, right? Because maybe you did something very specific, and you want to just to check different patches. So you're locking the voice calibration. Same thing with the ARP. Let's say I have an ARP, and I'm gonna just maybe turn it on and do sync and just play something, I guess. I have that, right? And I want to keep it, but I want to change patches. If I change it, that is just keeping my configuration. And this is great because I can just audition different patches by using the same ARP, the same voice calibration, and also we can use the same delay and you know, the same effects. Okay, so I'm gonna give you my opinion. My opinion about this plugin is just simple. It's just a no-brainer. If you want the simplicity, the smoothness, and the vibe of a Juno, well, you know, this will give that to you. Some other plugins will give you extra envelopes or maybe extra LFOs, which expands the sound design capabilities. You can do a little bit more. But I gotta be honest, if I wanted to create an evolving pad with a lot of modulations, with 5 LFOs and 3 envelopes, I wouldn't go to a Juno synthesizer. I will go to maybe Current or maybe Pigments or Vital. So yeah, if you want that Juno style, Juno vibe, this one is a great option. And okay, so hopefully all of this was useful. And if you like what I do, please like the video. This channel is supported by viewers only. If you want to buy me a coffee to say thanks and help the channel keep going on, you can. You have links at the description for PayPal, YouTube Thanks, and Patreon.